Hey, well, let's get started with our warm-up problems. Find a little half sheet that has a problem, like the one you see on the screen, and let's get started working together. They tell us in the problem that the measure, there's some problems with the fonts you're going to notice. When it says MR3, that's supposed to be the measure of angle 3, but sometimes a printer doesn't have the same font as a computer, so print, this is what happens. It says the measure of angle 3 is 75 degrees, so let's find angle 3 on our diagram right here and label it 75 degrees. So let's find the rest of the angle measures in the diagram. So let's start with what we know. We know that angle 3 and angle 2 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So we can say that the measure of angle 2 is 75 degrees. Now, we can tell that angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 6 is 75 degrees. And you can tell that angle 3 and angle 7 are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 7 is 75 degrees. Now there's a lot of ways to think about this. You could have said, well, if angle 6 is 75 degrees, angle 7 and angle 6 are vertical angles, they're congruent, therefore angle 7 is 75 degrees. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can think about solving these problems. But now, let's see what else we can find out. We've got to find the measure of angle 1. Now you can tell that the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 3, these guys are a linear pair. They add up to 180. So let's see here. 180 degrees minus 75 degrees. That's going to be 105 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 105 degrees. Now we can tell that angle 1 and angle 4, these guys are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 4 is 105 degrees. Whoops. Angle 4 and angle 5, these guys are alternate interior angles, and alternate interior angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 5 is 105 degrees. And last but not least, angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 8 is 105 degrees. Well, that sums up our first warm-up problem. Now let's go to our second sheet. We got problem number 1 right here. It says in the figure below, line M and line N are parallel. Find the missing angle measures. So let's look at part A. Part A. We have a 115 degree angle labeled here, and we're supposed to find the measure of angle A. So we can tell that angle A and that 115 degree angle are same side interior angles, therefore they're supplementary. So we know that they add up to 180. So 180 minus 115, oops, didn't do that. We get 65. So the measure of angle A is 65 degrees. Now moving on to part B. They tell us that there's an angle down here that's 25 degrees, and we're supposed to find a bunch of stuff. So let's see, what's the same as 25 degrees? Well, angle D is going to be 25 degrees. What else? It looks like angle E and angle G. Now, let's see what we can find here. Hopefully we can tell that the 25 degree angle and angle B form a linear pair. So they're going to add up to 180. 180 minus 25 would be 155. So measure of angle B is 155 degrees. Angle B and angle C are vertical angles, so they're congruent. B and F are corresponding angles, so F will be 155 also, and F and H are vertical angles, so they'll be congruent. H is 155 also. See, we're using the properties of these angles, we're using the properties of parallel lines to find the value of missing angles. Now let's go to the second problem on this sheet. This one's a little bit different. You're going to like this puzzle. We're supposed to find, we're supposed to set up an equation using angle properties and then solve for x. And then we could go a step further if we wanted to and find the measure of each of these angles. So let's get started. What do we notice about these two angles that are labeled? Well, they're alternate interior angles. That means that these angles are going to be congruent. So we can say that 4x plus 15, whatever that is going to be equal to 3x plus 35, whatever that is. Now, alternate interior angles are congruent. Congruent means the same. So these angles are going to be equal to each other. And now let's see what we can do. Let's subtract 3x from both sides. We get 1x plus 15 equals 35. Now we'll subtract 15 from both sides. And we'll get x equals 20. So that's what they want us to do, x equals 20. But let's go a step further. Some problems are going to ask us to do this in the skill sheet that we'll work on today. So let's find the measure of each angle. Let's see. 4 times 20 plus 15, that's 80 plus 15, which is 95. So we could say that this angle here is 95 degrees. And we should get the same thing if we do 3 times 20 plus 35. Let's see. 3 times 20 is 60. Yes, it works out for us. This guy's 95 degrees also. Well, so then you can tell that we have another 95 degree angle here and a 95 degree angle there. And they didn't ask us, but if they did, let's see, 180 minus 95 is 85. So these other angles must be 85 degrees. All right, well, thanks for watching the video. Good luck with the skill sheets.